If you're an investor, you heard from Björn that maybe you have to be cautious with some investments because you might be burning money. Now, I'll take a different type of people with money in their hands in our industry. If you're a purchasing department or if you're a company and you're wondering what might be short in supply over the coming year, what shall you order right away? Because if you don't, you might not get your stuff. And actually identified 3 types of goods which are flying off the shelves to a point where when I discuss with the companies, they tell me order now because delivery time is 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, or even more.
Oh, I'm interested to hear what that is really is.
So my number 3 is linked to many plans we've seen coming up from governments, which are looking into reducing their non-revenue water. They take it as a low-hanging fruit, which is something they can easily tap into to combat water scarcity. So there were plans in Italy, plans in Germany, plans in France, in a lot of countries around the world. And the consequence is that if you want to reduce your non-revenue water, you have basically 2 main ways to go. The first is to say, hey, my network is shitty. Let me dig out all my network and replace all my network. That's efficient, but it's pretty expensive. So they don't do that.
That will be good for GF, right?
I mean, everything is good for us because we support those companies and we can help them with all the different shades of what they take. But
you always try to pitch a little bit about that.
But actually, no, I wouldn't even advise for that because most of the time you have some stuff which you can do in between, which are a better solution. And that's the second option. The second option is to look at your network to try to understand why it's leaking, if it's leaking. And sometimes it's pressure, which is too high, and you can install some pressure management. Sometimes it is simply that you don't understand your network, that there are parts of your network which you imagine are still in the ground but are no longer in the ground, and other parts which are still in the ground and you imagine they were already out of the ground. True story. So if you want to tap into that, what you need to do is to go into smart metering, smart actuation of the network, collecting data, inline sensors. And nowadays, when you discuss with the companies which are delivering that, what they tell you is, yeah, we knew it was going to take off, so we were getting ourselves ready, but we're still a bit green into all of that because that is pretty new to have these smart elements within the networks. And if you look at the supply chain, it's getting longer and longer until you get your delivery of orders. So
what is it?
Smart meters?
Yeah, what for smart meters?
Flow meters, for instance, pressure.
So what is the issue with the flow meter? Why is the supply chain? I mean, there's metal, there's some sensors, there's electronics.
I'm a plumber.
It's electronics.
What is it?
It is electronics and it's long distance stuff because you have to put stuff in the network. You don't have electricity on site. So you need to have batteries. You need to have whether passive stuff or with battery stuff, things which you could put in the ground and let there for 10 years, 20 years. So it's quite specific sensors and it's quite specific in the way.
Why is it now new? I mean, what is the one thing?
How many times do I have to repeat myself?
Because all the countries are suddenly tapping into it.
Because everybody wants to have them now? Or because what is that? What is the issue? Why is the shortage?
The networks were leaking and everybody was fine with it.
Yeah,
and now we discover water scarcity and every country says, oh, now we have some millions to put into it and not billions.
Yeah, but what is the point that a smart meter is a product which has compounds, metal, electronics, cables, sensors, a lot of things. So what is the one thing?
Well, I can repeat you what I just said, which is before you said people were not buying, now people are buying.
Yeah, but what of these? Is it just the entire package, everything?
No,
or is it just one specific?
Those products are specific because they have to be autark and autonomous. So they have to be running.
So we are talking about electronic parts. So that is the bottleneck.
It's not just the electronic parts. It is the fact that you have to put stuff in the network which are there to 10 or 20 years. And those technology exists, but not to the same extent than you could just buy from GF a flow meter or from a Southern flow meter, from Hack a flow meter and put it in your plant and then wire it. Here it's different. You have to have technology which uses LoRa or Wi-Fi or which is passive or which is using different type of technology.
But isn't that exactly? But if you come up with that, I mean, this is needed everywhere. We need it in the cars, all the electronic parts. We need it in our mobiles. We need the computers. Everything is really completely electronic. So
don't focus on the electronics. The main thing is not the electronics. The main thing is it is stuff on the networks which didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago. So it's companies which are starting these product lines which don't exist to a big extent, and you don't have that much of a production capability to supply the entire world. Demand is outpacing the offer.
You have the money and invest into a production for smart meter because you can be rich over the next years.
And companies are doing that actively. But when you go into that, it takes time to ramp up the production capability. And in between, there might be shortages.
But isn't a smart meter product like, I don't want to say that, but let's say, is there really so much rocket science behind a smart meter?
I think it's because
about a flow meter. I mean,
it's because a lot of people think like you that we might be in this strategy.
It is known since decades.
What is known since decades?
How to measure flow. There are different methods.
Okay, let me re-explain. The problem is not measuring flow. The problem is a combination of measuring flow in a passive way in a place where you can't be doing maintenance every second day.
I get your point. But in principle, if you have a flow meter, triple, quadruple your production, and then you are a rich man because everybody wants to have that.
Yeah, everybody knows that there's only one way to measure flow, and yeah, it's universal. Thank you, Björn.
Yeah, but okay. Come up with number 2. Maybe it's better.
That's number 3. If you're really into this non-revenue water and you want to reduce your non-revenue water, look at your supply chain right now because it's going to be in tension. It is already in tension. Now there's a sector which is even more in tension, and that is getting really out of hand. It is everything which is linked with industrial desalination and all the shades of industrial desalination. So resource recovery from brines, industrial evaporation, crystallizers, that is getting fully out of hand for a very simple reason we discussed 2 months ago, which is the lithium industry is eating up everything the water industry can supply. So companies which used to be water companies are now selling like hot bagel, really hot bagel stuff to the lithium producers, which have much more cash we can pay straight away and which are ready to invest now and to sign the orders for something which is delivered in 3 years, when industrials are still like, well, do I really want to recycle my water and do I really go to that level of resource recovery? And right now...
So what you're saying, desalination, if I want to build the next mega plant, then I will have issues with my supply chain?
Industrial desalination. So not the conventional long racks which you find in the municipal big plants. That is a different supply chain. What I'm saying is that specialized players which look at high pressure reverse osmosis or complex type of combinations with reverse osmosis ion exchanger, if you heard of it, is the crystallizers and the evaporators. That is really getting out of hand. I can't give you the name of the company because I don't want to crack every secret. But one of the leaders in that market told me right now their books are full for 3 years. 3 years. And one of the co-leaders in that space, which last year had a 100% increase in their production, which is really ramping up to multiply by 4 their production over the next 3 years, they told me right now they have 1 year full. You give your order now, it is something fully standard off the shelf, you still won't get it before 1 year.
But for what exactly? What is exactly?
Again,
no.
Evaporators, crystallizers.
So it is really the evaporator, the completely evaporator, crystallizer.
One of the companies I discussed with told me, I asked them, are you looking for customers? How can we collaborate? And I said, no, please, no. We don't want customers. Right now, we don't want customers because we can't deliver to them. We are stopping our marketing push. We're stopping our sales push because we need to execute what we have in order to keep our name out there in the market. That is the situation we're in right now. So if you have a project which involves evaporation, crystallization, high-end reverse osmosis, high-pressure reverse osmosis, place your orders now because the supply is going to be ultra short.
If you're looking for a high pressure reverse osmosis system, I can give you some sources from China. I know sources in China. They have fully automated plants. They do it like this, like that, like the money from the other companies. They produce so many. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's just one piece.
I would still have my doubts because the same lithium boom is happening in China as well.
Sure.
So, but
they have facilities I've seen. Unbelievable from the capacity perspective. Really, fully automated. You just look there and look crazy.
So don't place your orders. Björn just solved it, and that leads me to number 1. Would you guess it?
I was surprised about smart meter and now crystallizer and evaporators. So what is it?
Number 1 is easy.
Ion exchange resin?
No.
What?
Much easier than that. What do you need to make it work?
To make what work?
Whatever you want in the water industry. You need people. Oh, the highest shortage we will experience in the next 5 years is in people. I give you here some examples. You read the financial reports. I read the activity reports, for instance, from the UK utility companies. And what they all say is that when they look at the money they were supposed to spend and the money they really spent, there's a big gap. They spent much less money than what they wanted to spend. And the reason for that is that they could not find the people to execute. They could not find the manpower to execute on their plans.
I had an interesting, I was just thinking, I mean, you came with that. I mean, this is obvious that people are the bottleneck, especially high educated people. These are the people we need, really. And I had a discussion some months ago with a UK company, and they said clearly, I think it was a ceramic membrane company and
Again.
in the UK, from the UK, and they said, well, we have a shortage. We can't get the people anymore due to the fact that even the universities don't train this and this and this field anymore. And that's why we don't get the people we need with the knowledge. And that was so interesting for me. I mean, we all know that let's say, if you want to have high qualified people, you have a shortage. I mean, is a war of talents. I mean, we know this since years.
But here it's a sum of things. You have inflation on one end, which means that the full economy is going to high speed, which means that people can easily find a job if they leave a job. You have the fact that qualified water professionals aren't so plentiful. You have the fact that you have the silver wave and people are retiring. And you have the element of our jobs are rapidly changing. When we discussed last month about 2 days training, I mean, nowadays with digitization, with process automation, with all the new technologies which you discussed in your editorial, those are not exactly the same that we were using 20 years ago, which doesn't mean that water professionals are obsolete. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that you need to do this effort to keep up to date, and not everybody is ready. I mean, I had the experiment once. I was in a room with maybe 80 water professionals, and we had the question, who did voluntarily take a training this year? And I raised my hand, and we were 3 maybe to raise our hands.
That's a different topic.
But that's part of the thing. That means you have less.
Total different topic.
You have less people which are really to this highest end in terms of staying up to date, and there is a shortage, which we see. You discuss with companies that tell you they're not able to spend their budget. You discuss on projects that tell you projects are delayed because they could not find the right manpower, the right people to execute the project. So if you have good people, keep them. And if you have the opportunity to take on people right now and you're not sure because what will the business be in 6 months, take them. Yeah. And maybe lasting on that people, because I remember we had that discussion 7 or 8 months ago. So it's a while ago that we had the discussion, and I was very surprised by what you said, and I disagreed with what you said. But a lot of people then in the chat agreed with you, so I was even more surprised.
Why are you surprised if people agree with me?
You explained how it's about money. I explained why it's about purpose. I don't think that you can have purpose without money, and I think you can have money without purpose. But I think I still stand my points that if you want to overcome that shortage of people, you need to give them a purpose. Absolutely. Why should they work for you and not for another company? Why are they doing the right thing when they work for you? And that is super important.
It is one of the major reasons, and that's why I said clearly in the beginning with my editorial, one of the companies I would stand immediately. Right, this is clearly Aquaporin, and what they do with their ESG goals and how they treat the people, how they value the people is one of the most coolest things I have ever seen. But the other thing, I mean, I have to mention that you said you was 1 out of 3 who raised their hand who invested in that. That is one of the questions. I mean, if you go to an interview, and one of the questions is always the interviewers or the applicant is asking, okay, what kind of training can I get? How much do you invest in me? And I was thinking to myself, and asking also to the applicant, how much did you invest in yourself over the last year? You're asking me, I should invest in you. How much yourself you invested in you? People have the mentality, okay, I go to a company and I expect that they get trained me in this and this and this and this and this. But they are not expecting themselves to do that. And that is what scares me.
That's an interesting debate, but it's a different topic.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But I think in today's market, even though you might be right, as an employer, you should still say, we train you to whatever you want because you want to take those people because of the shortage. So that was my top 3 for this month. Number 3, everything which is linked to smart metering of the network, pressure regulation valves, and really all the elements which enable you to do a smart network, a modular design of your network, and to combat this non-revenue water. Number 2, everything which is linked to industrial desalination, especially evaporators and crystallizers, but also high pressure reverse osmosis, despite the factory Björn knows which can deliver like that. If you need an address, ask him.
Come to me.
I guess he gets a commission.
No.
And number 1, and that's really the one where you have to invest this year, people.
What did I say?
People. We are a people's industry, and it shows right now that you have to invest in the right people. So that's my top 3. And